What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Dissect That Film, where we dissect your favorite films, film franchises, and TV. Today is episode 80 of the podcast, where we are sitting down to talk about the 1998 trippy as hell Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. I am your host, Brett Parker. Joining me, as always, the wonderful Dan and Angela of DNA Gaming.
Hello.
And joining us all the way from Cinema Trip Reviews is the wonderful Wyatt. Welcome in.
Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. I'm so excited that you're here.
It's not how great to be here, man. I'm ready to talk about Fear and Loathing.
It's not how I thought this was going to start. It's like all the way from, and I was expecting Cincinnati. I was like, why are you out where he lives, dude? Like, does he want to talk about that? Like, that's just where my mind went. I'm sorry.
Just doxing me.
Yeah.
I'm that first episode here.
And here's his social. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know that information.
How'd you get that?
Yeah. Oh my
God. We'll put a new style like scroll ticker at the bottom and just like personal information.
Oh my goodness. So yeah, we are talking today. We are talking about this wacky ass movie, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. This beautiful Criterion Collection Blu-ray.
It's the exact same one I have.
I think it's the only way you can get the Blu-ray. I don't think they did any other Blu-ray of this.
They had like a steelbook at one point. I saw. Okay. Yeah, it just didn't have any of the features that I wanted. That was on the Criterion Collection.
So, Wyatt, you are the reason why we were talking about this movie today, because we have been allowing our guests to choose the movie that we cover. Some good, some movies. So, before we get into all the fun stuff of the show, talk about yourself a little bit. Talk about your show and what you do over at Cinema Trip Reviews.
Yeah, I started Cinema Trip Reviews about a year ago now. It was part of Waves 5 Media, which is still an operating channel if anybody wants to go check that out. It was pretty much just one huge channel where we started a bunch of different shows. We had like a sports show, a regular podcast, and then I was kind of doing reviews every other week. And you know how life is. Everybody that was involved with the channel had some stuff going on, so we had to kind of put some stuff on hold. So in the meantime, I was like, you know what, I'm going to go start my own channel. I'll have the reviews somewhere else on my own. And then it kind of just launched from there. I started doing weekly reviews, just talking about movies from the old classics all the way to the brand spanking new ones that are just released in theaters. So normally I do it by myself, but every now and then I'll have special guests on. I know you joined me the one time we talked about The Matrix. That was a great time. If anybody hasn't seen that one, definitely go check that one out.
Absolutely.
But it's just been a great time talking about movies with a lot of good friends.
Yes, I am a big fan of your stuff. I listen to you all your episodes. Actually, you're one of the few podcasts that I actually watch more than I listen, because you put a lot of work into your videos. So
absolutely.
There's only a select few podcasts that I'll actually watch over just doing the audio. But yeah, you have some great guests, and you've recently been. What was your most recent video?
The most recent one was the Weird Al Yankovic, the Weird Al biopic that just came out on Roku. We just did that one, but we had a whole month of October reviews, and I kind of overworked myself, did more than I was expecting in that month of October, but it was a great month though.
Oh, absolutely. You had Movie Dumpster on to talk about The Exorcist, which is
fantastic episode.
Movie Dumpster. And,
they're great guys.
You did a Halloween ranking, which was a lot of fun to watch.
I've actually had that one in the can for a while. I actually had it recorded a year ago, and then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna wait till Ends comes out. So I ended up scrapping the original video and inviting my buddy Alex on, and we did a whole brand new one just covering all the movies.
Man, I couldn't imagine recording something and be like, yeah, you know what?
Oh, it was completely done too. Like I had it was like an hour or something, and I was like, you know what, this isn't good enough. And it doesn't include Ends, and I would hate to do another ranking a year later. So it's like, it happens. I've scrapped a couple episodes I've had before.
And then you covered Halloween Ends.
Literally,
just
less said about that, the better.
Yeah, it's so many. Yeah, seriously, we've talked that one to death. But today we are talking about Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas from 1998. I swear we've covered so many movies from 1998 in the last like month and a half. We did Phantoms, which came out in 98. We just did The Faculty, which came out that same year. And now we're talking about Fear and Loathing, which it's from 1998. But the way that Terry Gilliam directed this movie, it feels like a movie made in the 70s, which is the period of time that this all takes place. So Fear and Loathing was directed by Terry Gilliam, as I just said, who is well known for being a writer. And is he one of the actors from Monty Python, or was he just a writer for them?
I'm not sure if he was an actor. I know he directed like Holy Grail.
Yeah.
And I think he directed parts of like The Life of Brian or something. I'm not sure if he was part of their troupe though.
He's done movies such as Brazil, The Fisher King, 12 Monkeys, The Brothers Grimm, and then the last movie he directed was The Imaginary. Oh no, that's not true. Well, he did The Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus, which was the last movie that Heath Ledger was in.
You ever seen it?
I have not.
It's wild. Like I only seen it the one time, but it's so crazy.
It's not
it's crazier than this one.
It's not surprising just from seeing what this whole movie was. Actually, his last movie he directed was The Man Who Killed Don Quixote, which was a movie he had been trying to make for like 30 years. And it finally came out only, I think, a couple years ago. It had Adam Driver in it. And
I think I remember that.
What the hell is his name? The guy who's in Brazil, Jonathan Pryce. But yeah, he's a trippy director.
He did Time Bandits too. I don't know if you're a fan of Time Bandits or not.
I've only seen that once, and it was a very long time ago, so it's very hazy up there when it comes to that movie. But I mean, the way that Terry Gilliam does his movies, you're going to be walking out of it hazy every time.
Yeah, especially with this one.
Yeah. So this movie was based on a book by Hunter S. Thompson, who ultimately is the character that Johnny Depp plays in this movie. He is a wild man. Just listening to some of the letters that Johnny Depp got from him during filming. He actually, on the Criterion Blu-ray or the DVD, whichever one you have, Johnny Depp actually reads letters that he got while the movie was being filmed. And like, the inner dialogue that you hear throughout or the narration you hear throughout this movie, that's exactly how he was. Like he reads the letters. I'm like, it's just wild. It's like, I don't know what he's talking about half the time. Like, it's insane. And so when we talk about this movie, there's a lot of dialogue in this where I just go, I don't know what you're talking about. What is happening right now? It's just everything is so philosophical and just batshit crazy, but also the fact that the amount of drugs this man was on throughout his life.
Every day.
Yeah.
Like a couple years ago, they released like his daily routine, and you'd have to pull up the list. I couldn't do it off of memory, but it involves a lot of cocaine, a lot of alcohol, morphine, and like, it goes to ridiculous lengths, and it's a daily routine. This is what he does on the daily, and it's wild, man. I'm a huge fan of Hunter S. Thompson though. But Johnny Depp, he like hung out with him for like months leading up to like filming and everything, just so he can get all of his mannerisms and everything spot on.
Yeah, I mean even like the clothes that he wears was pretty much like picked out by Thompson himself, because it was stuff that he actually wore. The car they drive in the beginning, the red Dan
Cadillac.
Okay, that was actually Hunter S. Thompson's car. Like,
really?
And so of course Hunter S. Thompson had the receding hairline, and he was the one who did it to Johnny Depp. Like, this man was so involved in this movie. So this isn't the first time that he was portrayed on film. He was actually portrayed on film by Bill Murray back in 1980, called Where the Buffalo Roam. And
with old Peter Boyle as Dr. Gonzo.
Yeah.
His partner in crime.
We'll get to that character. So when Johnny Depp was ultimately cast, Hunter S. Thompson said, no one can ever play me ever again. Johnny Depp is this is him. This is me. No one else can touch this. And Bill Murray actually called Johnny Depp and was like, make sure you do a fun movie after this because you'll be stuck as him for 10 plus years. Like you will never be able to get out of this mindset unless you dive into something that is completely the opposite of this project, which his next movie would be Sleepy Hollow in 1999. So, which we've talked about on this show.
That was a good episode.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So this movie stars the two main actors, of course, is Johnny Depp and Benicio del Toro, who literally just are they're perfect for these roles. They're just absolute batshit crazy, especially Benicio del Toro. I love Johnny Depp and the way he portrays this character is fantastic, but Benicio del Toro is just batshit crazy. But then you read up on the guy he's based on, and you're like, well, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's not far off.
So the character, so his name is Dr. Gonzo. He was actually a real life person. His name was Oscar Zeta Acosta, who was his lawyer at one time, just as is Dr. Gonzo in this one. But he disappeared in 1974 and never was found. It's been missing for 48 years.
Damn.
So pretty much that final scene where he gets on the plane, spoiler alert, everybody, we're getting to the end here. But when he gets on the plane and he talks about the fact, like, you know, being a specimen and all this stuff and just describing him. And it's like, yeah, he never sees him again. That's it. He's just gone forever.
Yeah, he mentions that in like one of his books. Cause like I have like half this bookshelf over here. The one is like just a bunch of Hunter S. Thompson books. I had a huge Hunter S. Thompson phase at one point, but it's like, there is a point in one of the books where he mentions like, yep, if I ever see that man again, you know, I'm going to give him a strangling or something. I forget what the exact quote was, but he's like, if I ever see him again, like he just disappeared, just up and vanished out of thin air.
Yeah, it's just absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Funny thing is, this isn't the last time Johnny Depp would be in an adaptation of a Hunter S. Thompson book. He also did The Rum Diary, which is where he met Amber Heard. Sorry. Yeah, that's where he met her. And that was funny, I guess.
Like in a cosmic sort of way.
Sure.
I don't remember much of the movie. I've only seen it once when it came out.
Diary just wasn't something I had any interest in seeing, even though I love Johnny Depp.
That was like his only like work of fiction that he created, like Hunter S. Thompson. Like The Rum Diary is like his only fiction book that he released, that he just completely created. So I was like, yeah, I'm all for it. I want to go see a new Hunter S. Thompson movie. And then it was kind of like vastly different than everything else, especially like Fear and Loathing and stuff.
And they're not doing as many drugs. Where are
exactly.
all the drugs?
Why aren't we high?
Did you guys feel high watching this? I did.
Absolutely.
So also going back to Dr. Gonzo. So Gonzo is the description of the type of journalism that Hunter S. Thompson would do. It was called Gonzo journalism, which is pretty much used. It's journalism where you include yourself as the narrator. So the reporter would put themselves in as the narrator and describe everything from their point of view, which was pretty funny. Because you could tell by the way that the whole point is like this character is a journalist, and there's points in time where you forget about it because you're like, there's this movie is just them being high as fuck the entire time, spouting off nonsense, and just thinking that everybody's out to get them. That is literally the gist of this movie and the story, and just the life of Hunter S. Thompson, who just lived his life to the fullest.
Yeah, I also think of like Gonzo journalism as also like it's most of it's fact, but he also incorporates some of the stuff. Is like, is that true? Did that really happen?
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of stuff you're like, all right, we might have to fact check this a little, especially with like Fear and Loathing, where it's like, who knows what is true out of this story if this actually happened. But that's the majority of the way he writes. Like he has a book called like Fear and Loathing on the Campaign Trail. And it's a thick book just about covering the 1972 presidential elections. And I have zero interest in the 72 presidential elections, but when Hunter S. Thompson's writing about it, it's so interesting because he's just going from these different hotels, just causing a ruckus, not following any of the rules. Just, like,
Was that Nixon?
He's yeah, Nixon and George
shit.
McGovern. Yeah.
Oh, shit.
So he's just causing a ruckus. And that's the thing. He's also just so brutally honest about everything, which is even more entertaining on top of just him causing trouble.
Oh, yeah. It's insane. This movie was released May 22nd, 1998 on a budget of $18 million, and it only made 13.7, so it was box office major flop. But it got a kind of a cult following around the early 2000s, so actually not too far after its theatrical run. It's definitely not a movie that's talked about a lot like nowadays. I feel it was very popular in like the mid 2000s, and then it kind of disappeared again. Yeah, there's not much I can really say until we talk about our thoughts on this one. So let's do that. Let's go around the room and talk about our thoughts on this movie. Of course, we're going to start with our guest and just talk. For one, you're the one who picked this movie out, so tell us why you picked this movie out and what is your history with Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas?
Man, I absolutely love this movie. From the first time viewing it, I didn't really know too much about it. Like you said, like not a lot of people really talk about it at length. And I found it in high school. I was just going through a phase where I was very into history, and especially like the 60s and 70s. I was very into that time, listening to music like Bob Dylan, Beatles, and such. And I also had like one of my teachers in high school, like I was just like, he was teaching me all that kind of history, getting me into music. We play guitar and stuff, but then he introduced me to like Hunter S. Thompson, like Fear and Loathing, like the books and the Campaign Trail book and everything. So I just kind of fell down the rabbit hole at that point. And as soon as I watched the movie, I was like, all right, I gotta read the book now. Because I just instantly fell in love with it, just the style and the absurdity of it. And it's also just like what they would classify as like, I guess it would be a hangout movie, because there really isn't any like you mentioned, there's really not like a huge plot to it. There's really not a huge problem that they have to solve, or it doesn't escalate to crazy proportions or anything like that. There's just crazy stuff in it, and it just happens, and then it kind of ends at a certain point. There really isn't a lot to it. I wouldn't say compare it, but as far as like the feel and not style, but similar to like Dazed and Confused, where nothing really happens in it. You're just kind of hanging out with these characters for an hour and a half or so. This one's just on a way more drug-fueled, outrageous telling of the story. But just something about it, man, just at there's a certain point in time when I watched it, it hit me. It just clicked with me at the right point in time, and I've been in love with it ever since. And I usually watch it like once a year at some point, but I love everything about it, and the casting from Johnny Depp and Benicio del Toro down to even just a lot of the cameos you get in as well are just so memorable.
So many.
Yeah, but I absolutely adore this movie, though.
All right, who wants to start over there?
Do you want to take the bullet for this, or you want me to?
Say, I don't think we have much difference to say. We didn't finish it.
No, we did not finish this movie.
Oh, no.
We got about an hour in, and I was like, I'm confused. I was still confused an hour in.
So, yeah, we
felt high the whole time, in which I know that they were, but I'm like, I don't even know what's going on.
We're literally where I was on my phone. My cousin called me because we were watching this movie Friday. We forgot to watch it Thursday, and I always play games with my cousin Friday night. And he calls me. I was like, "Hey man, let me finish this movie, and when I get done, I'll play." And I was like, "I'm not even sure how long," as we were even talking about it a little bit. And I was like, "This movie has 50 fucking minutes left." I was like, "I feel like I've been watching a movie for 2 damn hours at this point." So you've finished saying your piece, and
I started taking notes. I literally got like 5 lines in, and I wrote, "I'm so confused," and I stopped taking notes. I'm like, I don't even know what to write down at this point. I'm like,
bats, yes, no, question mark?
Yeah, I was like,
lizard people?
I'm like, bats? We were discussing it.
All drugs, Dan.
Yeah, lots of drugs. I'm like,
inconsistent narratives.
So I've
narrator
drugs.
Never watched this before. at all. So I didn't know anything of what it was about. And I wrote
Just
down,
memes.
I'm like, are they on drugs? And then I'm like, yeah, they're on drugs. And then it just went downhill from there.
Well, the opening line of the film really sets that tone like real strong. Go ahead.
We were discussing it afterwards, and Dan was he was telling me what they were doing. I'm like, I had no idea what they were even supposed to be doing. Like
Yeah.
I was just I was lost.
For a while, you don't until they get there, and then you figure it out. You're like, oh, that's what he's doing. Okay.
And then they get to their hotel or whatever, and I'm like, is there anybody else staying in this hotel, or are they all just on drugs too? Because they're making obscene amounts of noise, and nobody ever says anything. Nobody checks on
Like nobody came up like, why is it so loud in here? Keep it the fuck down. Nobody's hitting the door, like hitting the wall or the broom, like upstairs, downstairs. Like keep it down. You know, none of that.
But their acting was spot on. I said Johnny Depp probably was on drugs anyways because he had his binges.
Yeah.
So they probably knew how to act. But no, their acting was great, and the cameos were awesome. I was just so lost.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense though. It goes from so many different places.
I'm like, because they would go from being on whatever drug they were on, and the reaction to that, and I'm like, man, they're acting normal now. I'm like, is this like, are they still on drugs at this point? Like,
where are they at?
I don't know. I might try and watch it again, but I doubt it.
Cool. All right.
No offense to you.
I completely understand.
So.
I mean, when I originally watched it back in the day in high school, I was, of course, one of those ones that was under the influence. So I mean, it definitely helps when you're watching this kind of movie. So I mean, I feel like that definitely helps as far as my love for it, because I mean, even now it's just like, as wild and ridiculous as it is, I think it also helps because I feel like there's really nothing like it out there. And just over the course of watching it over and over, you kind of get the sense of what is kind of going on, and you can kind of piece stuff together after a couple different viewings. Like, okay, this actually happened here, but they have it in a different place. Like, they have it all rearranged within the movie, so you kind of have to figure out what order it's in certain ways.
Well, so this movie... I'll agree with Angel. I think they did a good job as actors. Benicio del Toro, Johnny Depp, I thought did a good job for my extent knowledge of substance use. My problem, I think my biggest problem is I was listening to you talk a minute ago, Wyatt, and it hit me why I think I don't like this movie. Outside of with there being no centralized plot, and really it's just like these keynotes, and like literally the movie just felt like a drug for me, like so badly. But being somebody that grew up with a lot of alcoholics in their family, not my mom and dad directly, but a lot of alcoholics, I have no tolerance for people who are intoxicated in any way, shape, or form. So an entire movie of people just being under the influence heavily of various substances, I had no patience for a lot of it. There was some times where I did find certain things like chuckle-worthy or humorous, but there's just like, I was like, it just was not the film for me. I understand of like esoteric movies people may like, and the mindset you might have to be in to for this movie to really grab you, or the time, or whatever you were into. I don't know. Personally, not the kind of film. Of course. And it was. I like some beats of it, like about the inconsistent narration. The cinematography was really good. The soundtrack was good because my father, I listened to 50s, 60s, and 70s music growing up, so like I'm familiar with a lot of the music that was used in this movie, the time period I was down with, which I have something to bitch about when we get to the actual movie.
God,
but yes, I have to because it's me, and I get all that, but it just was not the movie. I had no intentions of watching this again or even finishing it, and I hope I don't come off as a bad host for that. This is the first movie I've never not finished. I was like, I just can't do this. Like legitimately, just no. Like I don't want like it's just
stirring some stuff up coming on to my first appearance here.
I know. Like I feel like shit.
You broke our show.
I must have. Jeez.
But Wyatt, I know you've listened to some of our stuff. And I can't bullshit people. Like I mean I'm not gonna be a dick about it, but I'm gonna tell you.
Oh yeah.
But there's stuff that I thought was good about this movie, but just as an enjoying experience, like you said, I think it's a hangout movie. You hang out with a bunch of people and you just kind of watch it. But like we're trying to sit there and like watch it and like kind of live up to our name and dissect the film, and I'm just like, this is not working for me with this.
It can't be done. What am I supposed to do?
It was dissecting us. Like let's drink on Friday night, and I'm like, I think I need to go grab a drink.
She did. I was like, I'm gonna wait till afterwards when I'm playing to drink with my cousin, and I'm just like, I'm just like,
you should have started drinking and then see if you would have liked it more.
I could have. I was in it.
This is making sense now.
Right? I'll tell you, the moment we stopped was after the moment with Gary Busey.
Oh my god!
with the Busey, it was like we're just like we'll come back to this later. I was like, of course we did, but it was a little over an hour. It's like an hour and 2-3 minutes. But that being said, it's not a movie for me. I can understand why people like this. Like it just screams a cult movie to me, but it just ain't for me. Parker, let's hear it.
This is only the second time I think I've ever seen this movie. I saw it when I was like a teenager. Don't remember much about it because I, to be honest, watching it recently, I was like, this was one of the hardest movies to take notes on because of the fact that
you messaged me that last night.
Yeah, it was so. I mean, I still have 4 pages of notes, but I'm still, there's so much narration that I just didn't get. Like he just spouts off nonsense for so long, and it's like some of the stuff is like, makes sense to whatever's going on, but then some of it I think it's just him rambling because it's he's under the influence of a lot of different hardcore things. The performances though fantastic. Like Johnny Depp and Benicio del Toro, they play off each other so well. They are perfect for these roles. I love all the cameos. I'm just gonna say one of my favorite cameos is Christopher Maloney as the clerk at the motel.
The bellhop,
motel. Oh, so funny. He's only in it for like 2 minutes, but it's perfect. There's so many great cameos in this movie. The cinematography, as Dan said, is really good because it makes it feel like a movie from the 70s. It doesn't feel like a movie that came out in 1998, especially compared to some of the movies we've already covered this year that are from the same year. Terry Gilliam's direction, it felt good. I thought the different effects, especially when they're under the influence, was really good. It's just a weird ass movie, and I probably would watch this again because I really want to watch this without taking notes because it's really hard to watch a movie and also take notes at the same time. You kind of feel like you miss certain things, but I just want to sit down and literally just maybe get drunk off my ass and just sit and watch this movie without having to worry about, having to take notes or, just to enjoy the just crazy ride that is this movie. I to be honest, I liked this movie. I thought it was really good. It was made really well. It's definitely a movie that's not for everyone.
Yeah, agree.
It's like there are parts of this movie where I'm like, oh, they could have cut that out. Like I feel like there'd be scenes that I feel like they drag on for so long because it's just Johnny Depp sitting in a room just spouting off stuff, or it's the internal dialogue or narration going on that just goes on for so long, and you're just like, let's move on, bud. Let's get to the next thing. Let's see what Gonzo's up to. He's probably trashed another hotel room somewhere.
I think a lot of that has to do, at least like what you mentioned with like the monologue, then the narration and everything. I think that the issue with that comes from it being based off the book, and they want to have like that narrator describing pretty much everything that's going on. Yeah. And a lot of it, it's very accurate based off of the book. Like they only cut a little bit of the book out from the movie itself, and they kind of compressed it for the movie. But it overall, it's very faithful to the actual book, which was originally like multiple articles in Rolling Stone, if I remember correctly. Yeah, they kind of just pull it all out and put it into one book.
That's what I'd read too, or heard.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, I thought it was good, but like again, I really want to sit down and watch this again without restraints of taking notes, and also, you know, having children running around my house as I'm trying to watch a movie. Sometimes it's hard, but but back to a little bit of the trivia here. So this movie was actually there was a script written back in 1976. Martin Scorsese and Oliver Stone were actually in bids to make a movie based on this, but it never ended up happening. And then I guess there was supposed to be a movie in the early 90s, and that never happened. There was also like a lot of the actors that were involved, like the original casting that they wanted for both for Hunter S. Thompson or Duke and Dr. Gonzo was Jack Nicholson and Marlon Brando.
Oh my gosh.
Then it was going to be Dan Aykroyd and John Belushi, but
oh man,
John Belushi died.
Even more wild.
Changed all that. John Malkovich was up for the role of Duke, which would have been fucking insane because John Malkovich is. I feel like he already is that guy. Like he's already there. Like, and also John Cusack at one point because he actually directed a play version of this. So he already was very well known in the material.
Speaking of John Cusack, if you haven't, there's a picture out there. It's one of my favorites. It's because I guess he was friends with Hunter S. Thompson, but there's a picture. I don't know if it was before or after the movie came out, but it was after a long night of partying, and it's Hunter S. Thompson, John Cusack, and Johnny Depp sitting in the convertible, and there's a blow-up doll in the back seat, and they're just like their hair's all disheveled, and you can tell they were just maybe in the middle of the night of partying. But the picture's hilarious. It's just those three and a blow-up doll sitting in a convertible.
It's wild. Like I said, Hunter S. Thompson, he lived his best life. The man he did everything he set out to do. And unfortunately, in 2005, he took his own life, which was, some say, surprising and some said not so surprising based on how he lived his life. But it was one of those things where people actually were like, yeah, he just felt like it was that time. He had done all he could do, and he wanted to go out on his own terms. And ultimately, I remember reading about that back in 2005. I was only 13 years old at the time. So, but I remember reading that because I remember watching, I think it's around when I watched Fear and Loathing for the very first time was when I was like 12, 13 years old. And like I said, at that age, definitely wasn't remembering anything from that movie other than the fact like Johnny Depp was in it. And then, and at his funeral, his ashes were shot out of a cannon, which is always something you have to mention when you talk about Hunter S. Thompson.
That's badass.
Yeah. And
if you haven't, I'd highly recommend going and watching the documentary Gonzo, and it's just about his whole life and all of his work and everything, even up until he died. But the whole thing's narrated by Johnny Depp, but it has like a ton of different celebrities talking about it and going in depth about like his life and these stories, what was real, what wasn't real, stuff like that. But it's very interesting.
Well, I actually heard about Hunter S. Thompson in somewhat unrelated means. I'm a automotive fan, and I know he did journalism for various races and such in the past. And he came up. I listened to Past Gas, which is an automotive history podcast, and they have talked about him before. And I was like, God, why is that name familiar? When like I heard him on there, and somebody, I think it was Stu, was on one of our streams that mentioned something that had to do with Hunter S. Thompson. I was like, God, that name's fucking familiar. And it was because they talked about him on this show before. I had no idea. So weird.
Yeah, he's an interesting cat. He ended up like running for like mayor in like one of the Colorado cities or something just to stir up some trouble. Aspen, yeah, he ran for like the mayor of Aspen and like the local party. And like he almost won too, which was crazy. But like he shaved he had hair at that time, but he shaved his head bald and was like going off of like some radical ideas and like like roasting the opponents, and it's hilarious what he was going out and just attempting to do, and then he would write about it to put in like different magazines.
Gotta have material, man.
Though
wild stuff. And also a little bit of trivia with the fact that the band Avenged Sevenfold wrote a song called Backcountry, which is literally it starts off with the line that actually shows up at the beginning of this movie, which is "He who makes a beast out of himself gets rid of the pain of being a man," which is, and Backcountry is a great song. I actually performed that song in a high school talent show.
Very nice. That
was the first song I heard of them.
And that was the first birthday present I ever bought you, was that album.
Yep.
Weird.
Comes full circle.
I know, right? It's a very good album.
That's a great music video too. If you have never seen the music video for Backcountry, it's literally just the beginning of this movie of them riding in the red convertible, and they're swatting at the bats, and to be honest, the beginning of this movie is my favorite part of this entire thing. It's just the whole, because you know it so well just from being brought up with that song. And
this is Backcountry.
Yeah. I mean, as much as I love the movie, I would say probably like that first like 20 minutes to a half hour is perfect. And like you guys mentioned before, I feel like even the back half, it definitely becomes a slog towards the end. As much as I love the movie, it does it's drawn on a little too far.
It
towards
feels
the end.
its runtime. I'm kind of in agreement with Dan when he was saying the fact of like, oh my God, I feel like I've been watching this movie for 2 hours and there's still 55 minutes. It's like, it's less than 2 hours. I mean, it's right around the 2 hour mark.
Yeah.
But this movie does feel longer than that because there are especially like you said, towards the end, it starts to kind of, all right, let's kind of wrap things up and get things going. But you have just like overly long conversations between characters and you're just like, okay.
Yeah, whereas like the first half, it's like you're doing this and then this and then this. It's like it's so much just thrown at you, and then by the last half, it's like, okay, we're kind of holding on this scene for a little while, and then we're going to this. Like, it definitely draws itself out after that halfway point, I feel.
Yeah, he was like, because when he was on the phone, he's like, "There's still 50 minutes." I'm like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" I'm like, "What else is he gonna do?"
Because he leaves. And then he comes back. I was like, what the fuck?
Why is he going back?
Because he didn't read the telegram that they sent to him.
That's what it is.
Well, this is going to probably be the wackiest plot synopsis I've ever done on this show. Because I tried to take the best notes I could based on what I was watching. But Wyatt's here to help me. You guys are here for the first hour at least.
Well, I can give you an easy one if you want.
What, an easy plot synopsis?
Yeah, just a quick, like a plot. It's very short. It's just like a guy gets hired as a journalist to go cover a motorcycle race. When that falls through, he decides to find out the American dream, what the American dream is.
Drugs.
Oh no, I have to go through all of these. This is what makes our show, Wyatt. These really mediocre notes I take.
I'm excited to hear it.
Yeah, there's some stuff I want to talk about that we actually saw. We did watch a video to like give us the breakdown of the second half of the movie.
So you guys actually know what's going on? Okay.
Yeah,
good.
A little bit.
And Wyatt, whenever you have anything to say, interrupt me. That's how this works.
You don't have to raise your hand.
Yeah, you don't have to raise your hand. As I'm going through, if you have something to say, just start saying it. And I will stop talking. Dan knows, Angela knows. That's how we roll here.
First, the fact that you mentioned me first just feels really targeted, but I
always target you, Dan. You should know this by now.
He likes me better.
That's true. I like you better, so I mean, it makes sense.
Anything. I don't pick favorites. So this movie opens up. We find out we're in the 70s. 70s America. We're driving through the desert in our beautiful Cadillac convertible.
Actually, by the way, Cadillacs aren't my thing, so that's why I can't. It's Eldorado, fucking.
Instantly took you out of the movie.
You're like, fuck this car.
No, it's fine. It's just Cadillacs aren't my thing. Cadillacs are land barges at that time, so I'm just no interest in them whatsoever.
They were land barges up until I was probably a teenager.
Yeah,
my grandmother had Cadillacs for like 10 years of my life, and those things were boats.
Boats, yeah.
My dad have one, and it's a boat.
Oh, it's not that big.
If I've ever gotten to a car, like have you ever hit anything with it? The other car is fucked. Like,
yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
You're good. You can drive right off.
Cadillac now is made out of plastic. It's just the name now. It's not the same.
Yep.
So there's a lot of drugs, a lot of driving.
A
Bat
suitcase
said
full of
only-
drugs.
Yes.
suitcase. And they're so well organized too. You know, it's not just
Yes.
thrown into a suitcase. They're all labeled and everything is perfectly organized. It's fantastic.
He breaks it all down too. It's fucking.
Mhm.
It's great
Gotta know
though.
your shit where it is.
The whole thing where he's driving and he's you know he sees the bats and you see him in the reflection of his glasses, but you don't see him anywhere else because he's just tripping balls. And I love it. He's just like, Gonzo, I can't drive. I gotta pull. We gotta pull over. I can't drive. I can't drive like this. And Gonzo's like, he's in the passenger seat like, like this man's gonna be able to drive any better.
Yeah, he's way better condition than you.
Oh
right
yeah,
now. Thanks.
I love it though. He gets out of the car and he goes to the trunk and he gets the fly swatter and
He's swatting the bat.
And so they switch spots. They start driving again, and they're talking about all the different drugs. They're talking about the ether. And it's like, ether, that's the worst one. And they're just like,
ether.
It's funny though that they describe like the effect perfectly of every drug they take. Like they know exactly when it's gonna hit, how bad it's gonna be, and they're just like, we don't give a shit. We're gonna do this, and we're gonna try to walk into a building and
you better hope you're in a good
us.
mood.
Yeah. Even about how long they have, like once they take it, like how long until it hits. But you mentioned earlier about the bats, and I think this is a good setup. Is you know these fake bats, but then when they drive away, there's a real dead bat on the ground behind them.
Mhm.
Oh yeah,
and it's like I think it's a good way of put my big brain hat on to establish like this probably a lot of inconsistencies in the story. So,
Yeah, what's real, what's not.
Yeah. The narrator may not be very
reliable.
There you go. All the time.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So, and then you also hear over the radio, it's like an anti-drug ad.
Yeah.
Which I thought was perfect. Like, drugs are bad. They'll melt your brain.
Bullshit.
Yeah.
Too late.
And just, this is where you also see where I feel Johnny Depp took some of the way he acted as Duke and incorporated it into Jack Sparrow.
For sure.
Just the way like everything is like, ooh,
the way his mannerisms with his hands and stuff.
Very good with his hands. Yeah.
Yeah.
And guess who's on the side of the road hitchhiking? Peter Parker himself, Tobey Maguire, in a terrible haircut. What the fuck is going on with his hair?
And like weird Mickey Mouse shirt, like demented Mickey Mouse shirt he has on.
Yeah, it's so funny. He's just smiling the whole time. He's creepy as hell.
He fucking sweats so much.
Oh my god, yeah.
Oh, he's just pouring it. Like everybody else sweat, but he's just like cascades.
That weird, like stringy hair sticking to his face and everything.
This is all weird.
I love that scene though.
Oh, it's great. Because at first he tells Gonzo to stop for him. And just Gonzo's like, no. And he slams on his brakes. And it's like they fly by him too. And when they stop, they're only like 20 feet from him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's just been standing there. But this is where we also
get. Damn, I never rode in a convertible before.
Yeah. This is also where we get the line, we can't stop here. It's backcountry.
Yeah.
So this is
I love that scene, like right when they pick him up and they're driving, he's like having that internal monologue, and he's like, "Wait a minute, did I say that out loud or was I thinking it?"
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, "Did they hear me?"
And that's where he hops in the back seat with him, and this is where he tells him about the mission, and we get a flashback to them hanging out in a restaurant. And he gets a phone call about going to Vegas because he's going to be covering a race.
Mm-hmm.
And he's, the guy's looking for a tip, and he just throws quarters.
Yeah, like the dwarf that comes out with the
Hunter S.
phone.
Thompson hated the scene. He actually stated that it was like rude and disrespectful, that he would have never done, because it's him. It's ultimately, Johnny Depp is playing him. So like, there's certain things where he was like, no, that I would have never done that. But I guess after a while, he just kind of said, fuck it.
He walks out with his drink still. He takes their glass and everything.
Yeah, they don't pay the bill either. The guy's like, hey! So
I love this montage though, like them just like getting their everything together to go on the trip.
Yeah. Well, this is where we also figure out Gonzo is Duke's attorney. And he always says, as your attorney, and then would say something, and he says it all the time in this movie as your attorney, and it's always like, as your attorney, I would take that, that sleeve of acid.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
And he's like, we need to get Acapulco shirts, and what, I forget what else he said. He's like, cocaine, and he's like, you're gonna have to get loaded up to the teeth, get some guns or something. He's like, run some trouble.
We need all the drugs, and then he's like, and I need to join you on this journey.
I can't argue with the gun mentality. Stay strapped or get clapped, guys. Anyway, seriously, well, this is a part of the movie that I was like, what the fuck? Like, this movie takes place in 1971. The vehicle they're driving is a Ford Maverick. That car first existed in 1970. That car would not look like that.
Oh,
are you sure with him driving it like that all the time?
But even then, it all looks like it's been sitting in somebody's yard. It's like in the middle of a restoration. There's like square parts painted, like they had patched. Like, it would not look like that, especially living in I'm assuming in the American Southwest is where he lives. The shit doesn't rust like that.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't. That's one, as a car guy, you could just feels like that ain't right. But anyway, carry on.
Those bastards taking me out.
And don't break the movie for me. I was just pointing to that.
So we get the montage where they're getting ready. They go get the car, and I love it where he goes in reverse and just nails it off of the curb, and he stops, and the guy just runs off. He's like, "Hey, you just went over like an 8-inch curb,
like 30 miles per hour or something like
without
that.
even slowing down."
So it'll be all right. Just testing it for stress, like something like that.
Yeah.
He's not even paying attention to what he's saying. He's just looking at something else, and then he's like, just need you to sign this," and decides it and just burns.
He's like, "Oh, this is a nice pen," and he like takes his pen, and he's like, "You haven't been drinking, have you?" He was like, "No, not me. I haven't been."
So we then get the whole. You also get the scene where they're stuck in traffic because somebody got hit by a fucking Corvette Stingray. My car, my dream car. Somebody
small
just gets
excerpt of it. He's like, "Oh, we went here, oh, and then we got delayed in traffic because someone was hit." And then it's like you see the blood and someone got hit. Yeah. It's like, why was this even here? Like, they just had to include that they got stuck in traffic.
So the blood stain on the sheet was a smiley face. If you didn't notice.
I didn't.
So we then are back to the present where Gonzo is having a horrible trip. Like, he has to pull over. He's like clawing at himself. He's like flailing around. And then he just starts spouting off some like philosophical shit. It's like, what are you talking about?
And he like gives him, I don't even know what it is, but he gets him like he breaks it and he like, gets him to snip it.
Is it smelling salts or is it cocaine?
I don't know what it is, or like
probably
what exactly
drugs.
It is.
Oh yeah,
I'm assuming it's more drugs, but he like completely calms down and he's like, how the hell do we get out here in the middle of the desert?
I know, right?
What the hell are we doing here?
And this is where Peter Parker's like, I'm fucking out of here, man.
Bye.
And this is what causes Duke to kind of like he's like, oh well, he's gonna go to the cops. We gotta go. Like, we gotta get to Vegas as fast as possible. Because
they mention about like going to find somebody like while they're there. Like it's completely separate from their story. That like, we're gonna go find like, I think they said like Savage Henry, Henry.
Yeah.
And he's he's cashed his check, and that's why he pulls the gun out and he starts trying to shoot it, but there's nothing in it.
Yeah,
and
Gonzo's going on about that. Yeah.
Yeah, and then like Hunter S. Thompson is like, where does he get off like criticizing a doctor of journalism or something like that? He like gets pissed off, and that's when like Tobey Maguire's like, all right, another ride. Don't here's fine. I'm gonna miss him.
So Duke is back driving again, and this is where you see Gonzo trying to put a line of coke on top of a suitcase, and because they're driving, it just blows in his face, and Duke is pissed. He's like, "You fucking idiot! Like, you're wasting it."
You see what God just did to us, man? He's like,
"No, it wasn't God. It was you." And then he starts licking the briefcase.
I was wondering why he was. I must have missed that. I was wondering.
It was all
why
improv by Benicio del Toro. That wasn't in the
all
script.
plays.
It was
yeah. And then he's like, I just ate a bunch of this acid. He's like, because Dr. Gonzo gives him the acid. He's like, here, take this. And then he's like, oh, we have like 3 hours or so, and we only have like a certain amount of time to get there before it takes into effect or something.
Yeah. He's like, as your attorney, I tell you to take a sleep with this acid. And and he's like,
Okay.
is it gonna affect me before we get there? He's like, probably not. So they get to Vegas and they're going through at least Duke is going through a really bad acid trip. He's kind of slowly wandering through the lobby of the hotel. He gets
moving.
Yeah, the rug. It's like going up the wall. He goes up to the whatever
the concierge lady,
and her face is starting to morph. And then he's just slowly like, what the fuck? And then he looks up and her head is just an eel. And then, Gonzo comes up and he helps him out. Then they go to the bar and he's still just going through it, man. And he's, everybody, it's such a weird environment too. And then he looks out and it's just lizard people. And they're like having a weird bloody orgy.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is happening?
The practical effects for the lizard suits are really good, though.
Good.
They are really good. I thought they'd be CG because they were already using some in the movie, but no, they're practical effects.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and then like the blood on the floor is like piling up. He's like, we're gonna need some golf shoes to get out of this muck.
Yeah, he yells at the very end, like when he starts like right at the very end of that whole trip, he yells something about the golf shoes, and everybody looks at him.
Like it snaps out of it.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
This movie does a great job. Even though it's set in Vegas, every location they go to, it feels like somewhere you would never be. Like it feels so odd. Like it doesn't feel like a real place.
No,
especially like that area they're at where there's dinosaurs. It feels like so weird. Like like there's so many lights and mirrors and stuff. It's such a weird location.
If you told me this was like Reno or Atlantic City, then I'd be like, oh, this makes sense. Because we all know they're just the knockoff Vegas.
Great value.
Exactly. Even worse.
The desk clerk is played by Katherine Hellman.
Like the mustard? Where's it mayonnaise?
Who's that?
Mayonnaise.
Yes.
So she's played in all kinds of stuff. Who's the Boss? She was in Coach. Everybody Loves Raymond. She was the not the mom. She was in all kinds. The Love Boat. Like she's been in all kinds of stuff. I did not realize.
Like, oh yeah, because my mom used to watch all those shows when I was a kid.
I did. So. Well, I recognize her from I Love Coach, and Who's the Boss.
Coach is great.
So I was like, that's so cool. I'm looking at because she looked familiar. She was in Cars.
Oh really?
Lizzie in Cars.
I think Lizzie's the
old. It's the old car. Yeah.
Yeah, she's done apparently her like all of her appearances.
Interesting.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Like she's in Car 54. Where are you? She was in the TV series. Gunsmoke.
Oh, fucking Gunsmoke's awesome, dude.
She's been working for a while.
Everything. Yeah, she started in 1955, so she's been in a lot of things. That's pretty cool.
Very cool.
Love.
So you get the interesting interaction where the photographer shows up to their hotel room.
Oh, what's that guy's name?
I see. Like I know he's in like one of the scary movies. He's like, oh, it's that guy. He's one of those guys.
Does he have a name or is he just?
He does have a name. Right there, Lacerda. Lacerda's the photographer.
Oh, Craig.
But like Duke is still going through it, like hiding behind the table, like watching like Vietnam on TV and there's reflections on the walls and on the floor.
Yeah.
He was in Scary Movie 4. He was in a bunch of those like superhero movie.
Like the parodies,
the bad parody movies. But yeah, he shows up to the room. Yeah, Duke's going through it, man, and Gonzo is super paranoid. He's like waving his gun around, and he's like doesn't trust this guy.
I know what you're up to.
Yeah. Be like, I'm just gonna let myself out.
I like when he's like rattling off like all of like the different models of bikes and stuff that are gonna be at the race, and then it like cuts to him in like an army uniform and everything,
like Vietnam and shit.
Yeah.
So Duke goes to the race.
Portuguese man.
So the next day, Duke goes to the racetrack, and you find this is kind of where you find out he's a reporter. even though you kind of get the idea of it based on the mission, but you don't. So when he gets the call about going on the mission, it never states what it's for. It's like, oh, we need to go to Vegas for this important, that's the mission that we got. But you find out he's a reporter, and the photographer is going to be there to, of course, take the photos for the race to then be added with Duke's, article. And it's very sandy. And of course, where does Duke want to be the whole time but in the bar, getting his beer? This is where you see Mark Harmon, most famous from NCIS.
Yeah.
He's just there.
He's like, in a future, I'll be eaten by a human hamburger or something, he says. I feel bad every time because as soon as he gets that nice, big glass of beer, that dude comes in and, shakes the sand and dust off of it into his mug of beer. Every time I'm like, no.
There's a deleted scene where this guy talks for 5 minutes. This dude who, brushes off the sand in his cup. I was like, what is going? And he just spouts nonsense. I'm like, well, thank God that wasn't in the movie. That would have added 10 more minutes. Damn, already too long movie. So Duke then gets picked up by the photographer to go out and kind of ride alongside the racers. And he's kind of just
beer.
Yeah. And he's kind of over this shit, man. He's over this shit. He pulls up. Because he's driving, he's still kind of tweaking because he can hear. It sounds like a machine gun's going off.
Yeah.
And then these extreme, I called them extreme hunters because they're coming out of nowhere in this Jeep with a freaking, mounted gun in the back.
Flight of the Valkyries playing and everything.
Yeah. And that's when Dukas is like, yeah, I don't want to do this. So he fires the photographer and kind of he pours out his beer, which is just
sandy
nasty now. Yeah. And he walks back to town. We get Tom Jones playing as they cruise the drag. I love all the shots of them driving on the Vegas Strip because it's just them sitting in a cutout of a car with some green screen.
Yeah.
And just a still image of Vegas going on in the background.
There are certain points, I believe it might have been when they first get into Vegas that we already covered. There's a couple of different scenes where it seems like they CG'd some of the signs from Vegas. And it doesn't look like they actually use shots of the actual real place. It looks like they created some of the certain signs. Yeah. I was like, I wonder why they would have done that at that point. Maybe they just didn't want certain businesses or locals used in movies or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, they could have. I know that for certain scenes, they had very strict limitations. Anything that was filmed inside, they had from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. to film it, and they were only allowed a certain amount of extras and a certain amount of spots they could actually film. So yeah, I mean, I could only imagine they couldn't actually be driving down or film a lot of Vegas at the time, so they just had to improvise and do the effects.
Yeah, and then you go to one of the most nightmarish places ever. There's the circus.
Oh my God, this place. Jesus. But this is there's such a before we get there, we get the great line from Gonzo where he says they're driving in a convertible with the roof down, and he's like, roll the windows down so we can feel that desert air. And that's where they're both high, so they crash into the sidewalk right next to circus or whatever the hell this place is called.
Yeah.
And they're just screaming at him. It's like, you can't park your car here. And they're like, Duke's not paying attention at all, to the point where they just both get out because they're like, we know Debbie, because they're going there to see Debbie Reynolds.
Yeah. You told me this isn't a reasonable place to park after they told him 4 different times. He's like, you told me I can't park here?
It's like, we're friends with Debbie. We're friends with Debbie.
You're on the sidewalk and you can't park your car here.
So good. So they then have to fight with the guy outside the theater where Debbie is performing, and they're, talking about how we're friends with Debbie, and then Gonzo finally talks their way into it. They have to stand in the back, and they can't make any...
Can't smoke.
Can't smoke. And what do? They immediately get kicked out.
Yeah, 10, 15 seconds after they go in there. They're just getting, drugged the fuck out.
But it's one of those things where it's was it that quick, or was it just a really sped up moment where
that's
it's
true.
supposed to feel longer?
Yeah.
So that was actually Debbie Reynolds' voice playing from the theater. So
Mhm.
Carrie Fisher, who is Debbie Reynolds' daughter, was friends with Terry Gilliam, and she actually talked her mom into recording some lines for the movie. So anytime you hear
Oh, that's
Debbie Reynolds,
cool.
it was actually her.
Oh, that's neat.
So yeah, they immediately get kicked out of there, and then they go to it's called Bazooko Circus.
The circus.
That's where they go after this.
And they have like another interaction with like the car attendants there.
Yeah. So this is
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead. No, you go.
oh no, this is where they use ether. And
I was
this is
like, oh, here's a good idea. Ether. And they were just talking about how horrible it was to fucking take ether.
It's just it's gasoline, man.
The dude's face is like morphing, and he's like, "Here's my ticket." He's like, "I'll remember your face."
I just remember Bad Boys 1 where they're driving the van that's full of ether because that's used to make a lot of drugs.
Just loses all control of like your motor function.
Yeah, but it's funny because they describe it as like you lose all function, but you know what's going on. Like you're fully aware of everything, but you can't control yourself. It's like that sounds terrifying.
Sitting in the passenger seat.
Oh God.
Trying to walk, and they're just like bow-legged, stumbling super slow, and like the old ladies are behind them.
So they go to the acrobat. They go to like the circus part where they're doing the trapeze thing, and all the acrobats are doing the thing. And what the fuck was I watching? It was a baby. It was a pregnant woman, and then there was people with scissors swinging. And then one dude with a hammer hits the hammer on the pregnant lady. The baby just flies out, and then they fly up with the big fucking scissors. Like, what the fuck is this?
I'm like, yay! And I'm like, what the fuck just happened?
What did I watch, man?
I'm so confused.
And then they have the dog. Like they have a dog they throw
it was
to
a
like the other acrobat.
It was a Wolverine.
Oh, it was a Wolverine.
Yeah, I was like,
every time I'm like, what the hell is it? Because like I couldn't figure out what it was.
You said bear and I said dog, and I'm like, I don't know what the hell it is.
This is a fucking honey badger or Wolverine or something. Holy shit!
Somebody's
happening?
lose a hand.
Though. Like that net is like right above where everybody's gambling.
Yeah.
So it would be so like I would be so worried about somebody just coming through that net. Right,
they drop the Wolverine, it gets loose in the place,
just terrorizing everybody.
This was the early 70s. I just write that shit off. Nobody sued you for that.
No,
yeah,
absolutely not.
Just give them some money, they'll leave you the fuck alone.
This is where we get Vern Troyer
cameo.
Oh, absolutely. Vern Troyer shows up.
Yep.
Mini-Me from Austin Powers.
And then disappears right away.
Yeah, that's it.
Lady's dress.
That's his cameo. See you later, buddy.
Hey, he got a paycheck. So.
Yep. Duke. I think Austin Powers, the first one, came out a year before this, or was it 99?
Oh, we were just looking.
I don't remember.
We'll look into it.
I was gonna say you get that Penn from Penn and Teller cameo.
Yes. I always forget which one is Penn and which one is Teller.
Yeah, Penn's the big dude with the glasses. But he's the dude that's trying to sell like the sign, or you get your face put up on the like 20-foot sign on the main drag there in Las Vegas. And so you can say whatever you want.
But Duke, as Duke is walking through the casino, he talks about it's such a weird line where he was like, yeah, this is what people would be everyone would be doing if the Nazis had won the war.
It's the year before.
And you're like,
yeah,
he didn't show up to the second one.
And this is
I believe it because it's terrifying.
Oh, absolutely. Oh my God. This place is nightmare fuel.
It is.
This is where he runs back into Gonzo, and Gonzo is tweaking bad again. He's like, I have the fear. And this was another one. So many fucking weird lines where Duke goes, as he's tripping out, and he says that, he's like, there's two women over there fucking a polar bear. And he's just like, don't you do that to me. Don't do that. Don't tell me those things, man.
Don't tell me those things, man.
I'm like, what is that?
And then the waitress comes up, and he's like, did they pay you to fuck that bear?
And she's like, what the hell did he say to me? And Duke's like, well, it's a fair question. Like he even says like, well, it's a fair question.
I missed that line. I was wondering why she was mad. I was like,
he's got a point. But I feel like if you're on drugs like that, that bar would be the worst because it's like a carousel bar.
That's what I was saying. I was like, could you imagine being intoxicated and trying to sit
drunk? Like I'm surprised you weren't hurling left or right.
Oh, I would have thrown up a lot.
I wouldn't be able to do it sober. Just saying. I
tries to get him off of that. He's like, quick, like a bunny. Just get off. Just jump. He's just holding on to him before he finally kicks him.
This whole scene was
Does he kick him off?
Yeah.
He
like boots him off.
And
then he gets pissed off and he gets up and he like threatens him.
He's like, kick me off.
He's like, it's probably the bartender for what you said to the waitress. I was like, what the fuck, dude?
Of what we saw, this is one of my favorite scenes.
It was so
I
fun.
laughed so
The
much.
whole circus is just scene is just
It's
nuts.
absolutely
It's
insane.
all nuts.
Because you're like, I don't know. I don't think I'll ever experience anything remotely close to this. And
No,
damn,
you won't.
this is where we get the line from Duke where he's like, this is not the best town for psychedelic drugs.
No.
You think?
They get back to their hotel room, and this is where Gonzo pulls out the big giant Bowie knife and just starts going ape shit with it. Yeah.
He's like, where the hell would you get that, man?
Just chopping up oranges really psychotically. Like,
Did he say room service set it up?
Yeah, they didn't have anything to cut the oranges or something with.
Oh,
and he's like, why would they give you a big ass like Bowie knife or
Where would
something?
they get it from?
where did you get that?
It's Vegas.
Lost and found or something?
Oh, so funny. We then get a flashback of so Duke talks about an interaction that Gonzo had with, he's like, oh, it can't be as bad as that confrontation you had, so long ago. And then it brings the flashback up and they go into an elevator, and who would be there but Cameron Diaz?
With the photographer,
yeah, she's with the photographer, and Gonzo kind of like loses it because they're asking like, oh, you should, I don't remember what they said he should be doing.
She asked him if he's a racer. And he's like, he's like, am I a what? And she's like, what class are you in? He's like, what the fuck kind of class are you talking about? Like, he has no idea. He doesn't handle this well at all.
Yeah, and he like threatens one of the other guys that was there. And what happens though? Because they like run away like they just did something really bad. Did I miss?
Well, he
something?
pulls the knife out on him.
Oh,
yeah, and those people. The elevator stops on that one floor, and an elderly couple's like there.
Right.
Because Gonzo pulls the knife out on, because he thinks they're like making fun of him or something. But he like pulls the knife out and then he like puts it up against like the photographer's neck or whatever, and like he's like, all right, we gotta get out of here. Like this took a turn. Duke just wants the hell out of this elevator.
Yeah, they literally run like they're about to get arrested. Like they're after us. Get in there.
Yeah, and then like, oh, they changed the locks already? The key's not working.
This is where Duke gets into the room and he shuts the door and Gonzo can't get in and he just knocks on the door like, hey man, in. Oh man. So Duke decides to go back down to the casino floor and do some gambling. I like how he drops $20 and come on, winner, and he doesn't win. They just water.
I always like those little lulls in the story where you kind of get like the real kind of Hunter S. Thompson, where he's talking about where he goes down there like late at night. He's talking about like the type of people you see at the casino at 3 a.m. or like the used car salesman or whatever. Yeah. But it's the little bits that are like, okay, this is actual, like you could see Hunter S. Thompson. This was him writing it. This is him genuinely. This isn't like a fictionalized version of him.
Right.
This is the scene, I think it's right around here is what I'm talking about, where he's sitting in there talking about the people you see in the casino. Then he goes on this whole side tangent about this man who walked in on him when he was in a bathroom doing drugs, and somebody was doing like licking it off of his sleeve, and he's like, that man is scarred for life now. And they kind of dwell on this character that's nothing to do with the story at all, about how
are you talking about the more of the flashback where he talks about 1965 and he's wanting?
Yeah, he talks about like the 60s. Yeah,
the best fucking spot is when he turns and there's a older man there who is actually Hunter S. Thompson. He's like, oh, there I am. Whoa.
He's like, there I am.
It's a great fucking spot there.
I thought that was the case, and I do applaud them for that, because like, is that Hunter S. Thompson? Like, because it was very fixated on that. It wasn't like a vaguely passing thing. It was kind of brought to your attention.
In the credits, it's like he's credited as like an older Duke. Like he actually, the whole point is he actually sees himself as an older person. Like it wasn't like he wasn't playing just some random guy in there. He like that's why that line is, oh, there I am.
Oh shit, there I am.
He's
like, and then we get the Flea cameo from Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Hey man.
Everything's
in slow motion. And then you got the guy in the suit comes in.
Some acid on my shirt, and I don't know how to get it off.
Yeah, you got Lyle Lovett. No, anybody remember Lyle Lovett, the country singer from the 90s? Well, that's who the guy is who walks in and goes, "They got some acid here, man."
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God.
I got no place to, he's like, I got the ingredients, but no place to cook it. It's all like slow motion.
And then like he talks, like you mentioned, he like talks about ruining the guy's life. He's like, every door he's behind or something, he's like, there's going to be people getting kicks from stuff that he would never imagine or never know or something like that.
Yeah. Like he's a 9-to-5 business suit type that he never would go outside of his comfort zone and it haunts him or some shit. It's like, what the fuck? It's nothing to do with what's going on.
Sitting there at the entrance to that bathroom, just like looking over his shoulder, like scared, like what's behind the door.
Oh, but
I love that scene where it's like the psychedelic music playing, and like the camera's rotating, like Flea's just licking his sleeve. It's just so like weird and out there.
So yeah, Duke goes back to the room. And Gonzo is beyond gone. He is literally laying in the tub, fully dressed.
Took a whole thing of acid.
This is my favorite. Out of all we saw, this is my favorite.
So
there's one part. Yeah,
things I hate in movies is when they show people throwing up. I can guarantee there is no fucking way you can tell me otherwise that he didn't force himself to throw up in this movie, because that's real. That is him really throwing up. Like. And there's like scenes of like him would like throw up all over his fucking face and his clothes. I'm like, this is fucking this whole bathroom scene.
He's gross for a majority of the movie too. He's got like his shirt up, his guts hanging out, sweat all over.
Yeah, Benicio del Toro, he gained 40 pounds for this role. So, you know, he's going full method here.
Yeah.
I only enjoy this scene for the sheer acting.
Oh, it's so good.
Between both of them. Because he's like, give me 2 hours. Just 2 hours to sleep, and you can hear him. He's just yelling.
He's like, I want to hear this. He's like, play the tape player, and he's like, no, and he's like, I want to hear White Rabbit. So
he's like, you need all this acid, did you? You better hope there's something in this bag to counteract that, or you're in for a world of trouble. But he's like threatening him with a knife and everything.
Yeah, but then he like takes the whole shower curtain down and he's like poking him with the shower curtain.
I may have.
Yeah. And he like agrees to drop the tape recorder in. And he's like, you got to do it at a specific part. And he's like counting down. And
when he says when White Rabbit peaks.
Yeah, and he just fucking hurls that fucking grapefruit. Like, it's like, what was the goal here? He just like,
he even says, like, if I drop this in the tub, it's gonna blast you through that wall, man.
That's what I was waiting for.
But what a perfect song too. This is a great song selection, because this is literally a song about doing drugs.
Yes, and I'm like, he's like, I'm gonna drop the radio in for you. Of course, he's really not. He's just telling him he's going to. And he, instead of just like walking out with it. There's grapefruit, and then runs over and lays down on the couch.
And like locks the door.
Like, what the fuck is that? What's the goal?
And you hear Gonzo in there just like, ah.
Well, he's like, I like when, before he like does everything, he's like trying to relax in the tub. And he's like, hurry up, you're wasting my goddamn time. And he's about to like relax, and he's like, hold up, turn it up. And then he like wants something else. He's like, you're wasting my fucking time, hurry up.
Does he?
But yeah, and then he goes and tries to relax. And
does he electrocute himself in there?
I don't think so.
Because you can hear the electric surges when Duke lays on the couch. You kind of hear, and I was like, "Is something going on in there?" But then fucking Gonzo just bursts out like the Hulk, and he's just like, "Ah!" with his knife, and you're like, "What is happening?"
So I didn't want to cut you, man. I just want to carve a little Z on your forehead.
Yeah, exactly.
He's like, I don't want to hurt you. I just want to carve a little Z on your forehead.
Oh, God. We get the inner dialogue of Duke talking about his experience of life in the 60s. So the scenes were a little out of order for what we were talking about.
I'm sorry.
This came right after the... That's fine. we're back into reality. It is time to flee Las Vegas. So Duke wakes up, right, and Gonzo's gone.
Yeah,
he's just-
this is one of my favorite parts too. I
And the
love this part of the movie.
hotel, the hotel is trash. The hotel room is trashed. And so Duke talks about how he has no money to pay for it. And he's talking about how, how many times did he get room service? It was like 40 something times at like $40.
$20 an hour or something for 48 consecutive hours.
48.
He's like unbelievable.
Right?
He's unbelievable. And I love like the scene where he's like standing in the elevator with the typewriter, and like the cop comes in like handcuffed to that elderly lady, and he's like slowly turning his back like to the corner, and he's like, I got no money. And then he's like, and a very like a goddamn enormous hotel bill or something like that.
He's trying to leave, and the guy from the hotel keeps coming out. He's like, I was just wondering if I could talk to Dr. Gonzo. It would be, when is he going to be coming down? He's like, he's trying to just get the fuck out of there. And he's just, every time he goes, he's like,
tries to step on the gas and he slams on the brakes.
Yeah.
The letter is to Thompson, not from him. Like, it's journalist code. Nobody would understand this except for us.
So he finally escapes, and he's driving down in the desert, and a cop pulls up on him. He kind of eludes him at first, but then he goes down to like this dead end, and he's already outside his car. And you find out the cop is Gary Busey.
Yeah, and like he's like, a lot of people's first instinct is to just pull right over. He's like, that is the wrong move. You want to? He's like, that'll raise the contempt in the cop. You want to just put your foot on the gas and then keep going and put your turn signal on. And they're not going to know you're going to make a 90-degree turn at like 50 miles an hour or something like that.
Such
They both
bullshit.
go in opposite directions.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
And then he gets there, he's already just sitting outside of his car, leaning on the hood or something.
Yeah, because he's being truthful about everything. He's got the beer in his hand. He's got all the beer in the back seat. He pretty much admits like, I felt like I break the law. I'm a bad person and all this.
It was
stuff.
wrong. I did it anyway.
And he's just like, you got a weird attitude about you. I don't remember the rest of this conversation.
But he looks at his license, and he doesn't say that he's Hunter S. Thompson, but he's like, you can tell he knows who he is. He's like, he's like, I know who you are. I'm familiar with your work. But he's like, I think you just need a nap. He's like, instead of giving him a ticket or whatever, he's like, pull up to the next rest stop, take a nap, and then you can go or whatever. And he's like, I don't know. He's like, I'm on a strict time crunch. I gotta go through here. He's like, well, this is my jurisdiction. If you go out here, I'm gonna have to call you in. I'm gonna have to, bring you in and everything. He's like, all right, I'll pull over at the next rest stop or whatever. And then Gary Busey asks him for a kiss.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm lonely out here. Like, what?
This was another scene that fucking Hunter S. Thompson didn't like. Terry Gilliam thought it was hilarious, and it ended up staying in the movie.
And he's just pissed off in the car. He's like, I felt raped. As he's driving to trying to get out of there.
I was just waiting for Gary Busey's character to start leaning in, and Johnny Depp be like, this is going
It's so weird because he's like holding his like chin too. He's like holding his face.
Gary Busey's a weird fucking guy.
Yes, he is.
Oh Lord. So
can't wait for Ginger Dead, man.
So they decide. So he gets to like a fork where it's either one way it goes to Vegas or one way goes to Baker, which is where the cop told him to go.
Yeah.
And this is where he's like, he was like, I can't go straight back to Vegas. But he also sees fucking Tobey Maguire just standing in the
hitchhiker again.
Oh, there he is.
He's like, oh fuck, oh god, no.
Yeah, no.
They're after me. Duke then goes into a junkyard, calls Gonzo. Gonzo's all cleaned up back at his office.
Yeah,
which there's a picture of Hunter S. Thompson in the background on a poster.
Like, what are you doing in the middle of the desert? I sent you a telegram to be at the hotel. You're going to be covering a different the convention, like the cop convention or whatever.
Yeah. He didn't know what it was, though. He didn't know it was a cop convention. He just said, "Yeah, cover the convention that's in town." He gets there, it's a anti-drug convention.
And then he rolls up and he just like slinks down into a seat of his car.
Oh, here, sir. And he hands him the ticket.
I love that shot. Like as soon as he walks into the lobby, everybody just immediately looks at him, and then it pans down to his briefcase and it has that X-ray view of his case full of all the drugs and stuff.
So great. Okay.
I've actually cleaned a hotel during one of these. Not a big one, but like locally, because we live near I don't give a fuck. Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. It's Gatlinburg. It's a big tourist area. The hotel we were cleaning, one time we went, and it was just some big fucking, I guess it's like cops from like the eastern part of Tennessee. They were just all meeting there. It was like, okay. It was just an odd thing. It just made me think of, because you had this little, it was like a smaller one, but I didn't have drugs on me. But Glock was set up showing off pistols, so that was exciting.
I forgot to mention the fact that he just goes into the desert and just starts shooting his fucking revolver.
That's something Hunter S. Thompson would totally do, though, too.
Oh, absolutely.
He loved his gun.
No doubt about it.
Part of the American dream, baby.
So since he has to go back to Vegas, he decided he's going to get a new car. So he gets a white. It's pretty much the same car, right?
It's a Cadillac again, white. Yeah.
Yeah. And
all the bells and whistles he would never understand.
It's like they're pretty simple back then. You had, for most Cadillacs, if I recall, like you're gonna have your long rectangular speedometer and like idiot lights for everything else, coolant, oil, all that shit. That's what we used to call them, or we call them. Check your shit. Good.
So at this hotel, Christopher Maloney works there, and he is hilarious because he's getting into a confrontation with this guy because of a reservation that was either canceled or like they took too long, so like it was given to somebody else, and the dude's just going ape shit, and he's just
Roger Podacter from Ace Ventura, the dude that's
right.
yelling,
yeah.
Like the owner or something. I forget who he was in Ace Ventura. Like what I think it wasn't he like working with the Dolphins or something.
Yeah,
I think in Ace Ventura,
he was one of the dolphin trainers.
Yeah.
So I love it how he's just there. He's being really calm, trying to like talk with the guy, and then it gets to the point where he just starts fucking insulting him too. Like they just go back and forth. And I just love that Duke just slides in.
Well, it's what he wants to say. Like I don't think it actually happens.
Oh, really? Okay.
Because I think Duke even says like I could tell what he wants to say, and then that's when he cuts. Okay. He's like he fucking cusses them out and everything.
Right.
And I love how like the guy's wife is like crying. He's like, "You see what you did? You see what you did to my wife?" But yeah, like Duke just interjects himself. He's like, "Yeah, I already have a reservation. I just want to get my stuff and get out of here." And Christopher Maloney is so nice to him. Right away, sir.
So funny.
Sounds great.
So Duke gets into the room, and this random woman just starts attacking him, literally like biting at his ankles and shit. And who is it? Christina fucking Ricci. What the fuck? I didn't know she was in this movie. I completely forgot she was in this. 18-year-old Christina Ricci. Holy shit.
I forget what her name is in the movie, though.
Oh, shit.
Lucy, that's
Lucy.
it. Lucy.
Yeah.
Yeah. She paints pictures of portraits of Barbara Streisand.
It's very specific.
Yeah.
It's great. But you're also questioning the fact that, like, did Gonzo kidnap this girl? Like, what the fuck is going on here? Gonzo, I mean, you already know Gonzo's kind of a piece of shit, but this kind of makes him more of a piece of shit. And his actions as we continue this movie just makes him the most unlikable fucking character.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. He's dressed up in like some weird robes and stuff too, like in this.
I don't like it,
but it's very uncomfortable because you feel like this girl is totally underage, and why is he? Yeah, why
Duke literally pulls him outside and was like, "Why is there a child in there? Like, what are you doing?"
Yeah, he says some dark shit in that conversation too,
Well,
like talking about like, oh, we can put her in a room and have these cops go at her for like $200 a pop or something. He's like, we can clean up. He's like, oh, how could you say something like that? Like Dr. Gonzo's even saying that. He's like, I could beat the hell out of you in this hallway right now. He's like, hey, truth hurts, man. Like he's trying. I think Duke is trying to get him to realize like what he's doing, but like it's not really clicking.
The situation.
Yeah.
Like, let me say this really fucked up thing and try to see where you're at with this.
Yeah, see where you're at. So if that's fucked up, maybe you can realize your situation you're in.
And also, what the fuck is this hotel got reverse peepholes? That's not how that works. You can't look into the room. Unless the person
No.
who installed it fucked up.
Wrong thing.
Yeah. So you find out she's like, I mean, according to Gonzo, she's like a religious freak.
Mhm.
And he then talks Duke talks Gonzo into cutting ties with her. So they pack up all of her paintings and kind of get her in a cab and get her the hell out of there.
Just drop her off at like a random hotel or something.
Yeah, this is where you get the fucking scene with him throwing up. Gonzo I'm like, why? I hate this. So nasty, man. Oh.
Glad you missed that. Huh?
So
I'm glad I missed that.
Duke and Gonzo attend the anti-drug conference, which is just hilarious. Because these dudes have literally spent the entirety of this movie just being under the influence of any and all drugs, and they go to this conference where they're talking about it's an anti-drug conference.
Yeah, and it's all like complete bullshit too. Like what they're saying is like completely like wrong. He's like, the reefer bud looks, they call it a roach because it resembles a cockroach. He's like, be crazy out of your mind to think it resembles a cockroach. Like, they're just like tearing everything they're saying apart.
I love that the head of this conference is Udesky from Jurassic Park 3. Or,
Yeah,
as he's in this movie, his name is L. Ron Bumquest.
Yeah, he's in like Green Mile too, I think.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I can't remember his character's name in that.
He's the dude with like the rat that takes care of like the rat.
What are you going to tell me next? That you're not a mercenary either? I never said I was.
Oh, R.I.P. Udesky.
Yeah, indeed.
We then get Lucy calls, and you get
Lucy
this
calls.
like, yeah, and you get the weird vision, like the vision of them like being condemned, like they're being held in court, and Harry Dean Stanton's there as the judge, and Christina Ricci's like all up in this like little schoolgirl outfit, like just like, those are the men who did this to me.
Castration, double castration.
Yes.
Oh, so good.
The one part I liked about the conference though is because he's talking about like the different levels. He's like, you're cool, hip, and then groovy or whatever. And he's talking about like how to identify like a reefer addict.
Yeah.
He's like, you can tell by like their like bloodshot glazed over eyes, and he's like cum stains on their pants from constantly ejaculating when they can't find like a rape victim or something. And like Connor's like Duke looks down at his pants and there's a stain on his pants. So he's trying to rub
Oh
off.
my god. Jesus.
He's like,
That's
groovy. Oh my god, it's so funny dude.
That sounds like our government. I know it's police officers, but that just sounds like it. Remember Reefer Madness?
Yeah.
Duke takes some more extreme drugs, and the trip comes quick. This is the shit that Gonzo has. Like, yeah, it's which is not a real drug, I guess.
I don't know.
I think it was something fictional that Hunter S. Thompson inserted into the book.
It's like
from what I read. It was the only drug that wasn't actually real. But it was based on something else.
Taken from like the actual adrenal gland of a person or something, like the liquid. I don't know.
Yeah.
He's like, don't take too much though. You only need one drop.
Sitting there the whole time.
Sitting there, drop.
He's got so much of it. He is. Oh my god.
They do a great job of kind of escalating as he starts to, because he starts taking it, and as he's taking it, Gonzo's on the phone with Lucy. And he's trying to make it seem like the cops are like raiding their like hotel room.
Yeah.
And that's why he starts like flipping out in the background. And it starts off slowly, and as it's just slowly building up as he's starting to lose it, and then he's throwing stuff around and yelling. And that's when like Duke, in the meantime, he's starting to like sweat. You can see him, he's starting to get hot. He's putting the towel on his head.
Yeah.
And he's kind of escalating, his highs escalating with Gonzo in the background. I kind of like the way how they did that whole scene.
Yeah, Gonzo comes
but
over
then it
with
goes
a tray full of cocaine.
Bananas.
Yeah. He's got the whole tray of cocaine. He walks over, and as like he's got the towel tied around his head, and his face is like pure white.
His eyes are like dots. Like it looks like he has some sort of like contact lenses in it too.
Yeah. And then Gonzo starts to transform into like this demon with tits on its back.
Like, beautiful fucking tits, man.
we watched the Who was it that we watched? It was the difference between the book and the movie.
Yeah.
And they played this scene, and I was like, okay.
It's really good effects. Really good effect.
Yeah,
like
like
the demon
horns
effects.
and-
Yeah. Really cool. And he's
I would hate
tripping
that, man.
so hard. So
He's like,
hard.
maybe you can just take me and put me in the pool. He's like, man, if I put you in the pool, you'll sink like a stone. You're done for.
Duke wakes up to the room being completely this is the nastiest fucking thing ever. Like, you don't know if there's shit on the wall or if that's
I feel like
you
you
find
could
out it's like
smell
ketchup.
it.
It's disgusting. He's got his microphone like taped to his face.
He's got a dinosaur tail on.
Yeah.
He's got like a raptor tail attached to his back. So
God.
as he's walking, the tail's just like flapping behind him.
It's insane.
And the room's flooded with like 2 feet of water somehow in this hotel room.
It's absolutely destroyed. You get a little bit of a flashback of Gonzo and Duke getting into a confrontation with the maid.
Yeah. They like convince her that they're cops undercover.
He's pointing
like
at her
holding
with
the
like
microphone.
Yeah.
Are you having flashbacks?
I am
of
having
cleaning the room?
yes. Obviously for long time listeners, viewers, I know I do carpet care. We do a lot of hotels, and I spent 8 hours in a room 2 or 3 weeks ago cleaning it because the fucker flooded. I literally stood around for 8 hours extracting water out of a fucking room, and it smelled horrible the whole damn time.
I bet, man.
That's
yeah.
awful.
So
That's
like,
nuts.
I'm glad I missed that because I was thinking like, God, that takes.
It's like
forever.
a flashback. It's like, oh god.
Oh yeah,
nightmares.
it's not even just that. There's like stuff all over the walls, like dry
it's
ketchup and mustard on the
disgusting.
walls.
At first, when you see it though, when he wakes up and you see the shit on the wall, I thought it was shit. Like, I wouldn't have been surprised.
No, not at all.
This is mine now.
They have like a shrine to like Debbie Reynolds on the
Debbie Reynolds,
wall.
yeah. That's so great.
Yeah, we only do floors. That'd be a hell of a payday.
Oh.
Yeah.
A hell of a payday.
So they
Fly me
send
to
the maid
Vegas.
on a fake mission. I love it. They pretty much get her hopes up, and with promise of all this money, and then they just send her off.
Yeah, send her on her way. And then he kind of goes back through the tapes. That's what he's doing now. He's like going through his tape recorder to see what happened.
Before, why did this shit get like this? And again, we run into Gonzo, and he's an absolute mess. He's just I swear it affects him worse than it does Duke. Like, cause he's got a lot of rage issues. So when he goes on a bad trip, he's like a fucking gorilla. And yeah, this hotel room is just absolutely fucked. It's got like a foot of water in it. It's fucking disgusting. It's like brown.
Oh, yeah.
It's nasty.
Yeah, you feel like you could smell it. You could smell the whole environment. It's just
I can.
So gross.
Right now, you guys talking about it, I can.
Yeah.
I've been there.
So there was a scene before where it shows the guy working at the hotel is trying to get the roof to the convertible down, and he can't get it, so it's all fucking mangled anytime you see them drive the car.
From then on out.
And they both go to a restaurant where Gonzo treats this waitress like a piece of shit.
This was probably the roughest scene in the movie.
This is where you go,
it's
Gonzo,
uncomfortable.
fuck this dude. He fucking sucks.
Yeah.
He berates this waitress. He like goes behind the counter and like gets in her face and just she sucks. Or he sucks,
Yeah.
sorry.
Duke's just sitting there eating his breakfast, reading the paper. Or eating his food, eating the paper. It's like at this, and that's the whole thing, is like through the course of the movie when Gonzo is acting like this, you would think if you're with him, you'd be like, dude, chill the fuck out. Or like you have to be that guy to settle your buddy down, or like get him out of this funk, or get him out of where you're at. Like he doesn't do anything.
No,
he just lets
sits there
Gonzo
and-
just go off.
He's reading the paper. He's just kind of observing. Ellen Barkin, who played the waitress, she wore a prosthetic ass in the scene because it shows like it's very big.
What?
Yeah.
That's why he gives her the note, I guess, because he gives her like that's what sets everything off. He gives her like a napkin that says like, "Are you like backdoor gal?" on it. She's like, "What the fuck is this supposed to mean?"
Yeah, and he just goes off. And
Yeah,
he sucks.
he does. Yeah, he's a piece of shit.
So they're driving and they run into Lucy and they freak out.
Oh God, she's just carrying all her paintings across that crosswalk. Looks all disheveled.
Oh man. So so then we figure out that Duke has to get Gonzo to the airport, and because of running into Lucy, they had to take an alternate route, which, they're like, well, how are we going to get there? So they go off-roading, and they literally drive through the fence of the airport. They got the pieces of the fence hanging off the car, and they literally drops him off about 5 feet from the airplane. And
I've never missed a plane yet. He just fucking takes off.
Yeah, this is where you get the whole thing about Gonzo, and this is kind of like the last time he ever sees him.
Yeah, does the Nixon when he's up in front of the plane.
Yep.
But I love that quote he says. He's like, he's one of those ones. He's like, he's too rare to live, too weird to die, type thing. And I love that quote.
Yeah.
Or too weird to live, too rare to die, something like that. I might have flip-flopped it.
I think you're right the first time. But yeah, and this is the last time you ever see him.
Yeah.
And then we go back to the flooded, disgusting hotel room, and Duke says some more philosophical stuff, and and then it's back on the road.
Those are some of the best parts of the movie, though, I think. Is like the one part earlier in the movie where he's talking about like the counterculture of the 60s and everything and the war, talking about like they thought that whatever they were doing at that point in time was right, that they can just, and it would set off a spark and a chain reaction, that they felt like they had a power of they could actually change and like change what was going on in the world at that time with Vietnam and everything. And then like what you see at the end of the movie, he talks about like the end of the 60s and the end of the drug era with like Tim Leary and everything. It's very philosophical, but it's the more serious parts of the movie that kind of ground it a little bit. But those are the parts I like the best.
Absolutely. And I like how when he's leaving, it says, "You are now leaving Fear and Loathing." And that's it. That's the end of the movie. That was the wild 2-hour drug binge that is Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. What an adventure that was.
Oh yeah. I love that last shot, like when he's during that like monologue scene where it's like the overtop view of the hotel room, and it's just slowly spinning as it's like panning away, and it's just like this little red box. It looks really cool how they did it. Very trippy.
So we, for everybody who doesn't know, we always share what movie we're going to be reviewing on the show, so that you guys can share your comments on if you've ever seen the movie, what your thoughts on the movie are, and then we share them on the show. So make sure every week, I usually post them on like Friday nights or Saturdays. I'll post whatever movie we're going to be talking about, and then you guys can comment on it. Our first one is from Johnny Browning, who posted a picture of his adorable dog dressed as Hunter S. Thompson.
Yeah,
I did see that one.
Dozer. He's
great.
Awesome.
And he also said it's a trip of a movie. And then Dan said, "Yes, please. I'd like to know what others think as well."
I need more opinions. I only had mine and hers at the time, so I was like, "Hey, please talk about it."
Our friends over at Flicks and Friends podcast said, "Hot take. I've had zero desire to watch this, but that could change after this episode." Well, I hope we change your mind.
It ain't gonna be for fucking me.
I think it's definitely worth the watch at least once. Definitely check it out.
Yeah, I will say, like, going back and talking about it with you guys, it's fun. Like, I'm enjoying this, but I just don't think I would sit down and watch it again. Like, recalling is fun with y'all. So.
Yeah.
Our next one is from Ty the Blockbuster Daddy, or at Ty the Blockbuster Guy. He said, "I watched this on mushrooms on Halloween for years. I love this movie."
Man, I don't know about that.
He said Terry Gilliam directed a masterpiece.
I can agree with that. I don't know if I would want to watch it on mushrooms though.
Yeah, I mean, I
feel like it would be good for a little while, but then you hit some of those dark parts, man. Or you hit that circus, you go, no, I'm good. I'm good on that.
Oh, thank you. Let me see. We have one more from Sick Mick. 007 said one of my all-time favorite films. Well, thank you to everybody who left a comment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We always
We
appreciate it.
appreciate you all,
Always.
and we appreciate Wyatt for being here and picking this movie for us to cover. Because to be honest, this probably was a movie that we might have never covered, or it would have taken a very, very long time for us to get to this point. So that's why I love it. Is you're always swing it. It's a random thing. When you let the guest pick whatever movie to cover. You just you go with the flow. I love a challenge, and this was definitely one of the harder ones for me to take notes on and to talk about. But being able to, I feel it was actually it was a blast, and to have you guys here and to kind of to riff off of as we're talking about the plot definitely made it a lot easier. So
yeah, thanks for having me on. I mean, I'm glad that we had like a wide range of different opinions on the movie here too.
Yeah, and I definitely like Wyatt's enthusiasm for it because it can show like somebody who truly appreciates the movie. It's not just like everybody dunking on it or calling it weird or some shit.
Stressed.
yeah,
Stressed like Johnny Depp.
yeah.
Are you high right now, Wyatt?
No, I'm
just
not. I made sure I wasn't for the podcast, man. I got coming straight.
For anyone who just listens to the show, Wyatt is dressed as Duke, aka Hunter S. Thompson, aka Duke from the movie.
Yeah.
So
we're a little late for Halloween, but
yeah.
I had to. I
was
dress
gonna
up for
do
the
it too. I was
occasion.
gonna put the bucket hat on and have the fly swatter. It's really cold where I am right now, and
I had the cigarette too, man. I just didn't have it broken in half.
I'm surprised you didn't. I was like, I'm surprised he had a cigarette.
We never talked about it either. How the fact he always had the cigarette with the little cigarette holder.
Yeah. And through like some parts of the movie, the cigarette's broken in half.
Yeah,
and he doesn't even replace it.
It's great. I love it.
It's hard to talk with, so I didn't use it.
So we are continuing our streak of having guests on the show, as we say goodbye to Wyatt, at least for now. We're going to be bringing on some new people next week, as we're going to be welcoming some of the hosts of the Quad Pro Quo podcast, and we're going to be talking about the 2019 film. Fuck, I'm blanking.
Wow,
I'm in.
Ready or not?
Right.
Wait, let me try that again. We're going to be talking about the 2019 horror flick Ready or Not.
Oh, that's a good one.
I'm very excited about because I've never seen this. I was directed by. Yeah, you guys know right now.
Yeah, it's always good to find out, like right before.
Right before you have a week.
It will never get here in time. What do I do? No, I'm just kidding. I'll just watch it on streaming service. I don't fucking care.
Oh, yeah, we're going to be talking about Ready or Not. I've never seen it, so it's another one either I haven't seen or I haven't seen in a very long time, so I love that, and I've heard great things about it. It was directed by the guys who just did Scream 5.
Was it? Didn't Dead Meat covered that a while back, didn't they?
Yeah, it's one that's got Samara Weaving in it.
Yeah, I think I know which one you're talking about. That would be
I've
interesting.
seen it, but she's in a wedding dress with a gun. I'm in.
That's how it is all the time,
man. Awesome. I'm excited about this one.
That's her going to town where.
I mean, I'm excited about everything that we do here, so I want to like put Wyatt down here.
Sorry, man.
I know I'm down for something different. I like seeing stuff I've not seen that I would normally, honestly, not watch. Like if somebody's like, I would never be like, yes, this is the one I want to see.
I mean, from seeing the cover, I feel like I would love Fear and Loathing, but after watching it,
I mean, the original cover for Fear and Loathing is great, but this fucking cover is awesome.
That's more like the original book artwork, kind of.
Yeah, I love the design of that.
Okay,
I have like the movie edition of the book.
Yeah.
Pretty tasty.
This was a fun ride, guys.
It was a good time.
Where can people find you?
Of course, yeah. Everybody can find me at Cinema Trip Reviews on YouTube. Also, check me out on Twitter at Cinema Trip Reviews, and pretty much anywhere you get your podcasts as well. Make sure to go leave us a good review over there. And I just want to thank you guys for having me on here, man. I had a great time.
Absolutely. You will.
Thank you, sir.
Definitely be coming back again, no doubt. All of Wyatt's links, all of Cinema Trip Reviews links will be down in the description or in the show notes. So, if you can click whatever to get to any of his shows or Twitter or all of that fun stuff. You can find us on the same places: Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. We're on all the streaming podcast services on YouTube. We got the video forms. If you want to look at our lovely faces as we talk. And all of Dan and Angela's stuff is down in the description as well. I don't know why I'm pointing that way. You guys are below me today. You guys are down there. Get below me. Get down there.
Down to the basement where you belong.
I was gonna say, I think we're already down.
We are too. So is he. Well, no, sorry. He's in his recording wing. I forgot. Carry on.
Yeah, this is my mansion.
I
have.
Yes, always.
Oh man, I can't believe that we're marking another achievement here. 80 episodes of this show. It's fucking insane that we've been doing it for that long.
That's awesome.
It's awesome to be able to talk about movies with my friends and to meet amazing people like Wyatt.
Thanks.
And
Just
discover
talking about you.
Discover other shows that do the same, and all the support that we can show each other and everybody out there who listens to the show.
We're all in it together.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This is a fun time, and I wouldn't change it for the world. And I thank everybody for the support and the love. And Wyatt, I thank you again for being here.
Absolutely, man. Thank you for having me.
Pleasure. And I'm excited to hang out with you again in the future.
Yeah, we got to talk about Matrix Reloaded, man, at some point.
Oh, yes. I got to come back to talk about the next Matrix.
And I would like to have everybody on the show eventually, too, at some point. I would have to you guys kind of figure out what movie you would want to talk about on my show.
Shut up, guys. You act like I
invitation.
never invite you on shows, okay?
He's like that mom and dad that always goes out and always leaves his fucking kids at home. He's like, they ain't coming with. Fuck them. They haven't earned it. At least she was the one that brought it up, not me this time.
I know. It's always going to be the joke.
I'm just picking.
Until we get on a show. Then I'm just going to do a count of how many more you have than us.
I would like to have everybody on the show here. It's just a matter of getting all three of you to figure out what movie you would want to cover that maybe you wouldn't cover normally on your show.
That's a tough one.
That's a tough one. Yeah,
that is a tough one.
We've covered so many different movies on this show. I feel like we do anything.
We're pretty easy.
All right, everybody.
Same.
Before we get on too long here, I am your host, Brett Parker. That is Dan and Angela of DNA Gaming. And that is Wyatt from Cinema Trip Reviews. This has been the Dissect That Film Podcast, episode 80. We'll see y'all again next time.